Hey guys, welcome back to the Niecey Perspective. I'm Niecey, and this is where I share my thoughts on life, womanhood, and everything we experience, just from my perspective. Let's get into it. It's your girl, Niecey, and welcome back to the Niecey Perspective. Last week we talked about weddings. This week we're talking about motherhood. I'm not a mother yet, but I have been 50-50 on if I even want to have children. And I think it more so goes with the aspect of every time you hear about somebody being a mother, it's nothing positive. I can honestly say probably like slim to none you hear some positivity about motherhood, but it's always negativity, and that kind of steers you from not wanting to become a mother. Because one, you think about if you're going to lose yourself, if you're going to have the right partner, if you're going to be financially, mentally, emotionally, mentally stable to have kids. You think about a whole bunch of things about what would happen to them. I know how Charlamagne always say parental anxiety. It's so much stuff along the lines when you think about motherhood. But a factor that I realize a lot of women talk about is identity. A lot of them lose their identity. And I could say I understand because I was watching an episode of Sex and the City. And this is when I think they all went to like a friend that they knew from back then who was a huge party girl. They went to her baby shower, and you could honestly see that she was trying to be so okay with being and becoming a mother. Since we're talking about stepping into our best selves, let me put you on FYTO glasses, which is FYTOO. They instantly level up your look while you're at work, brunch, or just on Zoom. Plus, you could get 15% off by using my code NIECEYS, NIECEYYS. And also, if you want to get some prescription glasses without breaking the bank, definitely hit up FYTO. But as you see in the episode, you see that she kind of starts to try to go back to being a party girl, try to shake her ass and stuff like that, but she just can't do that anymore because I always feel like when everybody sees like somebody that's a mother or like pregnant, they look at them like as they're a saint. So they can't do anything. It's like they're supposed to lock up in the house and just do nothing. And I feel like that's something that I can understand why a lot of women feel like they lose the identity, because I'm not saying that you're going to still be a party girl, but it's like it feels like you have to lose a part of yourself and kind of really, really like grow up, even though you're already grown up or however old you are, to really be focused on only being a mother and not having fun. And I feel like that's where a lot of women lose themselves on trying to get the identity drawn. I could be wrong. It's just an easy perspective. But before we dive in, let me go into the glow up affirmation. I'm allowed to prepare, evolve, and step into motherhood in a way that honors me and who I am becoming, and not just what the world expects of me. I'm not a mother yet, but I just don't want to walk into motherhood blindly either. And again, I told you guys I'm always on TikTok. So I'm on like mother talk or mom talk. That's how they call it. And it's just when you hear certain things, it kind of discourages you because some women, they don't have the help to raise a child or children, and it becomes a lot, especially if a child has like autism or other type of conditions that they're not mentally, physically able to care for themselves, and the burden is always left on the mother. Or you see in situations where some mothers, they're struggling financially. It's like sometimes I want to see and hear more positive things about what some women enjoy about being a mother. And I don't want to negate somebody's feelings and how they feel about their experience, because that's not what I'm trying to do at all. I'm just saying that from my perspective, I just want to hear more positivity in that aspect. Like, I don't want somebody to romanticize having a mom soft life. And like, I want also the reality. So what I mean, because I feel like this is like me contradicting myself. So let me explain this better. And if I'm still contradicting myself, my bad. It's just an easy perspective. So I want to see the soft mom life, but I also want to see reality. And I feel like that's something that we have to draw the line at, which is kind of like a verse this or that kind of aspect to it. And I feel like this is going to go crazy, but hear me out. I want to see some mothers love being a mother. I want to see the enjoyment that they get. I want to see their start to finish, how they're helping their child out to be the best, how they're teaching their child, how they're training their child in terms of like potty training, or how to eat solid foods, or how to brush their teeth, how to take a shower. No, I don't want to see all, like, don't go all that internet. What I mean is like giving tips that would help other women, because that sounded kind of crazy. So let me just go back there. Like giving tips, oh, this is how I potty train my young daughter or my young son, and how they're able to do this on their own. Or this is how I teach my child to brush their teeth. Or this is how I taught my child the importance of taking a shower. Hey, just do this, don't do that, and don't like, but keep it very PG. Because I don't want this to sound kind of crazy, but you guys kind of get the drift that I'm getting. Like, I want to hear more positivity, which I have. I've heard one woman on TikTok, I don't know her name, but she talked about how she potty trained her daughter from early. She said what she would do, even when her daughter was like 1, she said that she would have her daughter sitting over and say when it's time to go, help her to understand this is how you are potty trained. So now when she becomes fully older, she was more potty trained. She didn't physically show it because they're crazy people out in the world, but she explained the process. And I said, wow, that makes a lot of sense. I could see that aspect. Yeah, that's kind of cool. There's this one orthodontist that I follow. Her name is Ariel. I love her down. She is a dentist and she has her husband Travis that she always bothers. But she showed how she brushes, how you're supposed to brush an infant's mouth, how you're supposed to brush a toddler mouth, how she brushes her son. Like, stuff like that is stuff that I feel like I want to see. Like, she even shows when she went to the library, even though it's kind of funny, like in terms of like how Chance wasn't paying attention, but she kind of shows the whole aspect there of motherhood, and I feel like that's soft mom life. And then I also want to see the reality. I want to hear, oh my God, my child, they couldn't potty train. He was kind of rough training them and teaching them. Or, oh my God, I'm trying to help my child learn how to read. It's a little bit hard. They're not understanding. What are some tips? Like, I want to kind of get a best of both worlds to kind of understand. I just don't want to hear negativity all the time. I want to see positivity. I want to see the good. Because of course, there are going to be some bad instances. Things happen. Life happens. It's life. But also show it positive. Like, oh my God, I'm so proud. I was able to help my child understand English or understand math. And it was draining. I got a tutor. It was helpful. Like, those are good stuff that you want to hear. Oh my God, I had to punish my child because they were doing something I didn't tell them to do. But this is how I helped them so they could. Like, stuff like that is something that I visualize how I want to actually, like, hear somebody talk about when it comes to their child. And then I also feel bad when you hear certain mothers that want to have it all, but they just can't. Because if they lack the partner or the village that helped them, they can't have it all. There are some women that I know that probably wants to go to the gym, but they're not going to have anybody to babysit. There's somebody that probably have a child with a special condition that they try to find expenses to help. They're all aspects that I understand and completely understand. There are some women that want to go on vacation, but they know they have a toddler that they have to take. Like, stuff like that I completely understand, because that's motherhood. That's being a parent. That's what a mother, and if a father's inside, that's what they sacrifice to make sure that they are there for their child. And I completely understand that. And that's something that I'm saying that I love visually seeing and hearing it. Because there are some women like you see them like, yes, they have it all, and then they break down because they always have to have this persona, this image. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying previously about the soft mom life versus the reality. If you kind of catch my drift, what I'm saying, like, I don't want you to feel pressure to have it all just to show us the soft mom life, when in reality it's not always 100% like that. But I do want to see that version of your soft mom life, to know that, yes, there are some things that I know I could have. Can't have it all 100%, but maybe I could have 70 or 80% of it. If you guys catch my drift. If you guys get what I'm saying. If you guys get the visualization of stuff what I'm talking about. The knowledge here what I'm talking about. Now, when it comes to me, there's a whole lot of factors go into me and motherhood. I am very big that I want to be married, only because, but I said to myself I want to be married, but I don't know if I want to change my last name. I know we just had a whole episode last week about weddings and marriage. But I just thought to myself, I don't know if I want to change my last name. I want to be married, but I don't know if I want to change my last name. I just feel like my last name is my identity. It's like, it's to me. So I feel like once, because that's kind of how I feel, but that's a different discussion for another day. But I want to be married, but I also want to be financially and mentally prepared for it. I want to be financially, meaning that I want to have like, make sure I have like 20K put aside at minimum to make sure that if any emergencies when I can't work, money's there, or just for future expenses or something that happens, the extra money is there apart from other savings. And mentally, I want to be mentally prepared because I generally feel like I'm still childish. And I like to have the notion of every year on my birthday I want to go somewhere. I just love that mindset of being able to just drop and do what I want to do. Yes, I have a dog, but it's like it's not the same as you could leave your dog home for 3-4 hours as opposed to you can't leave a baby home 3-4 hours. The baby gotta come with you. The child has to come with you. Unless that child is old enough, well old enough to fend for themselves. You catch what I'm saying? Like, it's just certain things that you have to sacrifice. And I am genuinely scared that I want to be pregnant or I'm going to give birth and Cardi B is going to go out with another tour. I'm going to miss her tour. I missed Cardi B's first tour and I'd be damned if I miss it again. If she goes on tour. See, that's stuff that I think about. I can't just drop money to go on a concert. I have to budget accordingly. I have to think about, is my hair going to still be done? Well, I usually do my hair, but you get what I'm saying? Is my nails going to still be done every 3-4 weeks? Like, am I still going to be able to budget for that? Can I just buy something on Shein for myself only? Can I just make sure I buy a small amount of food? That's what I think about mentally. And that's why I say, because I always hear, you're not ever mentally, financially prepared already. My gyno, my grandmother, them two always say that. And I get what they're saying. But it's just, I'm at the point that I'm turning 34 this year, and I'm so selfish. I'm an only child, but I feel like that's besides the point. But I'm just so selfish that to literally give up that type of freedom, can I really do that? And yes, I may have the best supportive partner ever, but am I mentally going to be okay with having that aspect? Because I hear some women how they have to make certain sacrifices. And it's just because even my mom had me at 19, 20. So she was at her prime college years where she couldn't have that fun and travel as she wanted to. She said she even told me, she said that she had like a classmate while she was with me. Her classmate is going traveling the world, going to different stuff, and she didn't get the opportunity. And I said to myself, but I'm 34, I feel like I've traveled a good amount, but I feel like there's still more traveling I want to do. Like, I want to travel to Europe. I want to do other things, but then I also said to myself, I don't want to be too old to have a kid that, yeah, I may be healthy, but I may have lesser time on earth, God's willing, that I die naturally, that I won't spend as much with them. Or even if they decide to have grandkids, to spend with them or have that relationship with them. And that's something that I think about. I genuinely think about that. Like, am I going to be financially and emotionally, mentally ready for that? And that's something that I have huge concerns about. And then I also observe society, as I said before, about how TikTok, where you don't see more positive stuff. I also see when it comes to family and friends. One thing about it, I love my family and friends because I know they'll be supportive. And I know a village helps raise a child. And that's 100% accurate. And the village that I have, I'm most thankful, most grateful. But then I also struggle with having the God parent to my child, because most of my people they're not in the same state. So I think about that as well. I have concerns about that as well. And it is something that I do think about, and it kind of scares me, but it kind of doesn't. Like, sometimes I say, maybe I'm ready. Sometimes I say, oh, hell no. Like, sometimes I'm like, oh, absolutely not. It's like, it's kind of fear and it's excitement. It's fear of losing myself, but it's also excitement of having me bringing a human being into this world. Me having my own child. Me sharing that bond with my husband. That's something that's excitement to me that I see. But it's fear in terms of, like, most of the stuff that I'm used to, I can't be 100% until maybe later on in life. You know what I mean? Like, maybe I have to sacrifice like the first 5 to 6 years of really not doing what I would like to do to make sure my child is 100% set and they're comfortable and they're talking and they feel good, that I could start budgeting accordingly for myself in terms of different things that I want to do. That's what I mean. Because you hear certain people how they have to, like, mothers have to sacrifice maybe doing their hair for their child to do a sport or extra tutoring or something. Like, that's what I mean by those extra sacrifices. That's why it's fair to me. And that's something that I'm trying to grasp my head around to mentally, emotionally prepare for. Because I feel like a lot of people don't think about that. People just say, yeah, mama want one pitney, you know, say pitney after barn, we depend on her for multiplying, and we have to, yeah man, all of that sounds excellent but one time money for come, child for God school, money, food for eat and all them sitting there, what you do? You not do nothing. Like, it's like you're not really doing anything. But struggling with losing yourself is something that I'm also afraid of, because I feel like even now in my early 30s, or I'm hitting my mid 30s, I feel like I don't know myself really, and I still have a lot of learning. So trying to balance how I'm feeling right now and then how I may in the future, it may be a whole new person than what I am right now. And that's nothing that I'm scared of. Losing myself, not being the same person as I once were, and having to readjust, having to reevaluate, and having to move on. If I'm still trying to get accustomed with being myself right now, and I'm still trying to learn myself, my likes, dislikes, how can I improve myself, and then to go into motherhood, completely lose myself, and then try to find a new version of myself, that's scary to me. That is what I feel that's fearful to me. It's like I have to readjust my whole self, my whole mind, my whole mindset to accommodate for pretty much what life it is right now. Life is changing, and once you're a mother forever. Okay? When you go to heaven, you're a mother in heaven. It's not as opposed to, like, as of right now, maybe I'm still losing myself, but I could still try doing certain things. I could try to adjust myself more. I could try to do different things now, as opposed to being a mother. I have to think more. I just can't just flat out decide I'm gonna do this whole big change, because I have a child to think about. I have a partner that hopefully I'll be with, a marriage to think about. I can't be selfish. And yes, now I'm boyfriend and girlfriend. I can be selfish now, but that changes when marriage come. I'm a parent, I'm a mother. Those change, and it's like that's what's scary about motherhood to me. I don't want to lose myself in that process. I've seen some mothers that lost themselves, that they're trying to slowly pick themselves back up. And another thing that thinks about is postpartum depression. That's scary to me, and that's something that I pray that I do not get or experience. And if I do, I learn how to pick myself back up. And I feel like that postpartum depression what goes into you losing yourself more and trying to find this new version of yourself. And it could be a life-changing experience for some mothers in a positive or negative way. And I'm not trying to say postpartum depression is positive. I'm not. What I'm trying to say is when it comes to the outcome, it may be a more positive outcome for that mother, as opposed to maybe other mothers had a negative outcome, if you get what I'm saying. Because you hear a lot of news about some women that go through postpartum depression and they just can't mentally be there for their child, or they do physical harm to their child, as opposed to some mothers that go through postpartum depression, they learn how to understand their feelings and be in tune more, and learn a new version of themselves that they're very comfortable with. That's why I say there's differences to that, and opposed to being positive, negative. And you're probably like, "But you're not a mother, you don't know." You're absolutely positively correct. This is just stuff that I see on the internet a lot. Some people may fabricate it, some people may not. I do read some different self-help books here and there. I listen to when other mothers talk. I have a group around me that are mothers, So I listen and I observe and I understand and I reflect and I sit down and I think about that. And that's something that I do. Another big thing is when it comes to a career and your motherhood balance. Now, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm trying to, I love doing this. I love being a podcaster, and I'm not a huge podcaster, but I do have a 9 to 5 job, and sometimes that does get overwhelming. So the fact that I do have a 9 to 5 jobs, I do vlog here and there on my YouTube, and I do have my podcast, and I try to do some type of content on TikTok. It's not a lot, but I think about how am I going to be able to balance all that when I have a child in here, because one, it's going to be I'm going to have to try to move around and reflect, and how am I going to adjust with a child in. Don't want to lose followers. I also want to be able to still talk about different content. As of right now, I don't have that space, especially since I'm adjusting things, to just flat out say, okay, once the baby come in, I could budget to go to the studio, because I can't really use studio time to because I have to focus on the baby. I think about that. And on top of it, with my career, I'm going to be gone for 3 months. I'm thinking about that. Am I going to lose my position? Am I going to still be able to elevate myself? Am I going to still be able to pick up back where I came from? Am I going to miss my child so much that I don't want to work? Or do I want to just wait an extra month on my child? Or how am I going to balance having my child and work? I think about that type of balance and how am I going to progress from there. Because I also want to continue to be in my career and to be successful, but I also want to make sure that I'm putting all into my child. I want to be able to have different stream of incomes by doing different YouTube vlogs here and there and recording podcasts, but I don't want the content to be focused around motherhood. Because I hear a lot of women talk about when they see other women on their YouTube or on their TikTok page or on their Instagram or their podcast, and they shift from being about themselves to everything about being a mother, and they forget themselves, and then they lose people. Of course, I want to be able to share my thoughts, my pros, my cons, my enjoyment, my fear on motherhood if I do become a mother. But I also don't want to feel like I'm losing myself and only thinking about that aspect. And I feel like that's another thing that I'm kind of wondering, how am I going to balance? I'm scared. I'm like, am I going to be able to balance that great? I know it may not be perfect at first, because nothing is perfect. But that's something to also think about. Am I going to be successful in this aspect? Am I not going to be successful in that aspect? When I have my 9 to 5 job, how am I going to balance also pouring into my child, but also want to do my content? How am I going to balance that? How am I going to balance editing? Am I going to have enough money to be able to provide somebody to edit content for me? What if I just throw a whole lot of content out there and somebody edits it, somebody publish it? Will I have the finances for that? Because the finances now going to be for your child. And yes, you guys probably wonder, but what about your partner? Of course my partner is going to be there. Of course he's going to be some aspects. But I'm thinking right now as somebody that's just a girlfriend and not married. You get what I'm saying? So my mindset is more girlfriend and not wife. Since we're talking about stepping into our best selves, let me put you on FYTOO glasses, which is FYTOO. They instantly level up your look while you're at work, brunch, or just on Zoom. Plus, you could get 15% off by using my code Nieceys, NIECEYYS. And also, if you want to get some prescription glasses without breaking the bank, definitely hit up FYTOO. Now, it goes back to the question, will I still be me? Because as of right now, I may be a dog mom, but I'm still me. Of course, I focus and I put all my mindset around my dog. I make sure that he eats, he drinks his water, he goes to the vet if he doesn't feel good. I make sure that he always has his TV shows if I go outside. He's watching Bluey, he's watching cartoons. I make sure that he's always comfortable. I make sure that he does not feel like he's not wanted. You know what I mean? I want him to always feel wanted. So when I think about that, it's not a huge change. But if you become a mother, that change is kind of going to shift, because I've heard mothers say that they get that maternal instinct. Oh my gosh, that word was killing me. So some of them, they get this maternal instinct that their mindset doesn't focus on themselves, they focus on their child. Some of them it's something that I think about in that aspect, because I know I'm going to lose myself, but it'll just probably be for the time being until things get better and progress. I don't know if you guys catch my drift, catch what I'm saying. Like, I don't want to, because I'm not trying to down talk anybody being a mother, because I'm not. I feel like it is a beautiful thing to be a mother. Trust me, even when I was a young kid, I wanted to be a midwife. I wanted to be a labor delivery nurse. I wanted to be there every step of the way, helping women to make sure that they are healthy, they feel good. And that's something that we always think about, and we have to have that in a mindset. Will I be me? And that's something that I think about, and that's something that I wonder. Now, this is the reason why kind of I have my hesitancy and shift, is understanding the importance of choosing the right partner. Because when I go on Mom Talk and I hear so many mothers talk about their partner and how they're not helpful to them when it comes to the baby and the preparation, I think that's very scary, because when you're with somebody, you're hoping that they're putting the same amount of effort as you are. You know what I mean? Especially as you being a mother. You want to make sure your father is being there, or whomever is your partner, that they're supporting your needs and the baby needs as well, and not only focusing on their needs. Because I've heard so much stories on TikTok, and again, these all could be fabricated, but I've heard stories on TikTok where women talk about how after like probably the first 2 weeks of just having a baby, the partner demands their sexual needs. Like, you can't control yourself for that long. Or you hear how some women will say that the baby is crying, their partner won't even get up and help them with the child. Is just certain aspects like that, or that's the part that's scary, that I feel like where most of my fear comes towards. Because everybody may say they may have the best partner now, until when that child comes, it's a completely different person. Because that actually tests your relationship with your partner when the baby's here. Because you guys are going to be losing sleep, you guys are trying to get a schedule. You're not going to have that romantic level anymore, because you're going to be put on your main focus on a child. Money may be a little bit tight at the moment. You know, it just may be so much stuff going on. And again, also, the father may be changing into losing himself and trying to find himself now after becoming a father, as opposed to how a mother not being having a child now, but then moving on to becoming a mother, trying to find your identity there. And I think that's where the switch is, and I think that's kind of where it stems from, the fear of not in that aspect. Like, you think about it like that. And also having financial stability and a support system, because to bring a child in this world, you always want to make sure you're financially secure. And I remember I said this to you guys previously. I hear a lot of people say that you'll never be financially ready. But you want to make sure you and your partner are financially on the same page. Because the worst thing is when you're financially prepared and ready and your partner is the opposite. Like, if you're trying to have a goal to track $20K that you want to save up for your partner, and your partner is blowing that money on God knows what and not on his responsibilities, then you kind of see, is this somebody that you actually want to procreate with? Because if they can't do a simple needs of saving a little bit, like, I think about it like that. What if I saved 10K and he saved 10K? That means we are both on the same goal and the same mindset of how we want to proceed with our child. As opposed to if I'm saving money and he ain't doing a damn thing, then what's the whole point? Because all you're just doing is providing sperm, and that's it. Because if you're not providing that financial support and you see me doing that for myself, why are you not doing that for yourself? Like, that's the stuff that I think about in that aspect. And then you also want to make sure you have the support system that I talked about earlier. It is very and it's highly important of knowing who you are procreating with. Because if you don't have that support system and you see it from now, imagine when the time comes when the baby's here. It's very important, because if that person thinks that everything's going to fall on you being the mother, and they're not going to do the bare minimum or less than the bare minimum, then what's the whole aspect of you being there? Because you're not really contributing anything. And it's not even about financially. It's just support. It's just support. And I think that's where the fear comes from with me with motherhood. That's my huge fear, is, am I going to have that support? Am I going to, if I lose myself after having a child, is my partner going to be supportive of me and be like, I got your back, babe. I understand. I will help you. Maybe you just need 2 minutes to yourself to cool off. Maybe you need a spa day. Maybe you just need to hang out with your friends for like an hour or two. Am I going to have that support? Because people have to think about it. Because remember, when you have the baby is with you as the mother most of the time than they're with the father. Especially since, like, after you give birth and probably after, the 6 weeks, he goes back to work or whomever, how the job situation works. You are the one. The child usually goes to you first. They don't go to the father first. They usually call mama first. They don't really call dad at first. So that tends to weigh on a mother. It weighs a lot. And I think about that all the time. And I'm saying to myself, am I ready? I don't know. I don't know. And then also not wanting to struggle. And there are going to be some aspects you're struggling, like you're struggling mentally or emotionally, and then financially. But it's just the struggling aspect of, the last thing I want to do is struggling to get diapers for my baby. Like, that's crazy to me. Or struggling to pay bills because a new child is here. That's stuff that I think about as well. And that's a lot. It's a lot, especially in today's economy. Today's economy, to raise a child is not the economy it was years ago. And I feel like that's why the birthing rate is declining so much now. These lawmakers can't believe it. Because they thought that since they're going to take away Roe vs. Wade, these women are just going to out here popping babies. And they're really not. They're really not. They thought, yeah, man, we going to overturn Roe versus Wade and everything's going to... No, these women, they are taking back themselves. And I love that. Okay, clock it. I love it. But all jokes aside, it's really something to think about. I seriously think about that's why the birth rate is starting to decline. Because not everybody wants to struggle. Not everybody wants to be mentally exhausted with trying to make sure their child is 100% on the right track and trying to keep them own selves. I think that's why a lot of us become dog parents. We become childless dog parents. I seriously think about that. That's why there's some stuff you hear on the internet. What is it? DINK, which is dual income, no kids, like those type of partners. Or when you think about some people that probably have one kid and that's it, one and done. Or there's some people that probably just say, I'm just going to be a dog parent. Or people just want to travel, live life, and enjoy life. And I totally get it. I totally get it. Like, now when I think about it, I always wonder what type of mother I'll be. Because the reason why I always wonder what type of mother I'd be, because I don't want to be too strict on my child that they go out there and experiment and then it kind of bite me in the ass. But I also want to lay the ground rules down to my child that says, hey, no, you cannot do this. No, you cannot do that. And, you know, kids love asking, why? Like, explaining them, no, this can't, I understand that you're mad at me now, but this is for your best. Like, stuff like that. Because I always think about, I love the relationship that I had with my mother, because when I was younger, she laid down that authority figure. But as I got older, we built that relationship. Because I always feel like when you have a child and your child is younger, that's when you are creating an authority figure to make you know that I am your mother, I'm your parent, I'm not your friend. Then as they get older and they start to understand, and then you get on that friend level. Because even with how my relationship with my mom was very an authority figure. She told me no is no, that's it. And, you know, so you know the Jamaican parents, and then up the back of chatting, they tell you no is no and that's it. Like, they're not going further. Me and you in the size, you know, you always hear those stuff like that, and you're saying to yourself, and like, you always want to know why, but they just say no is no and that is it. Like, there's nothing else. But as I got older, it's like now my mom, I call my mom 100 times a day. So, to a point that she's sick of me. Now, one time she blocked me. She really blocked me because she said I call her too damn much. So, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, I wanted to be the type of mother that I laid on the authority figure. But as they get older, more so when they start hitting college and understanding, I would have that friend level with you. Because I really feel like once middle school and high school, that's one of the biggest years that you have to lay down those authority figure, because that's when the little gremlins, they try you the most. I see it a lot. That's when they start trying you the most in that aspects, because they try to pinch your buttons, they try to be sneaky. Because we were all once teenagers. We kind of preteen teenagers. We know. So you know what I'm talking about in that aspect. And that's how I envision and breaking generational patterns. There are some generational patterns I do want to break. and some that I do understand. And the ones that I mean is that I know, like as I previously said, like when a child asks questions and you say no is no and that is it. There's some times that is needed. No is no and that is it. But there's some times where I would like to explain a why and like to let them know, like, oh my gosh, mom, I want to go out with my friend. You know, she's having this party or so, and I'm saying no. You're too young to go out with your friend. I understand you may want to go out, you may listen out, but just want you to be safe and just be very careful and to be very mindful. That's the reason why I said no. Or just more so that so I could build that type of relationship with my child that they could come to me with certain things and they would ask me a question that could be answered. Because also as a child, children are very curious, and I was a child, so I have experience. Hello, we all have experience. But they could be very curious, and we could be very curious when we were children. And sometimes the child wants to know why. They do. They want to know why. I'll never forget back in you guys don't went to a Catholic school. I said that in my previous episodes. So I went to a Catholic school and we had a talent show, and we were the last class that had a talent show that they have it now that you have to show the type of talent you're doing. That's how bad our talent show is. So we had a talent show and there's one kid, he just come up from Jamaica, and this is the time when Elephant Man log on and step punch. So that's when the song just really come out. So I'll never forget, he did a talent show with his cousin, and that's like, she was like a big woman. She just had to be like in high school or probably bigger than high school. And I remember she wore like a crop top and she had like her low rise, and the nuns at first they were appalled, and they said no, you can't wear that because you're just like I guess her gesture, what they're trying to say was that the lining of like towards her private area was poking out and the aspects, and they had to immediately stop it, and they were telling her to get a longer shirt. She couldn't a whole lot of things. So I remember when I was younger, I kept asking, what does that mean? And like everybody want to be taboo at that point. Nobody want to explain to me what that means. Of course, now I'm older, I understand now. But back then, nobody, if I'm asking you a question, just tell me, you know what that means, X, Y, and Z. It was to the point that I asked it 5 times and everybody was on mute. I'm like, is this the mute challenge? Nobody wants to answer me. And me being a curious child, I want to know why. So that's what I mean in terms of aspect. Like, I feel like in situations like that, we have to explain certain things to children. And that's the kind of generational pattern I want to break in that aspect. Because I feel like that's something like, kids are curious. And I feel like sometimes when you answer their questions, they feel like, okay, all right. Unless, like, if they start going down with why after every goddamn thing, then that's what I can understand. No is no. That is it. I can't do it about talking. Like, I understand that. Now that, I understand. Because some of them do that. I feel like they do that purposely. Just to do that. Just to seriously do that. Now, when it comes to raising kids, I really want to raise my kid to be very confident in themselves and to be emotionally aware. Because some of these gremlins, and if you take offense to me calling your child a gremlin, then again, this is just a Niecey perspective. But some of these kids are not emotionally aware. And I feel like I'm not going to blame the parents all the time because I'm not a parent. It's not my right to talk. But I feel like if a parent sees their child is not being emotionally aware of a situation and they don't address their child, even when once they go with their child in private and don't address it, those are kids that become these adults, and they're the ones that cause havoc in the workplace. I'm going to be very honest with you, because you want your child to be very confident in themselves. Yes, you want them to be able to fully articulate themselves. You want them to be able to feel confident that, hey, if this friend is not a friend to me, I don't want to be your friend. They speak up against things like bullying and stuff like that. Yeah. And emotionally aware is that you want your child to be aware of their surroundings and know right from wrong and not be a follower. And you want your child just to kind of understand certain things. Like, if your child being annoying as hell and you know your child's being annoying as hell and you are not telling your child they're being annoying as hell and you let them continue on, those are the little gremlins that go into workplace and they're annoying as hell and they wonder why nobody likes them. I'm gonna be very honest with you, because that's something that, like, you gotta let your child know, hey, you being annoying right now, and I don't think that is working out for you. You gotta fix the situation. And I guess all of the above is all these things I think about when it comes to motherhood is the fear of losing myself, but also the excitement of maybe having a mini-me or just having a child with my partner based on our union. It just, all those different things, yes, I think about that. I think about the joy. I also think about the fear of not being financially stable. Because trust me, as somebody that went to a Catholic school, the Catholic school back in the 90s is not the Catholic school prices today. I went to look at Catholic schools in my area, Catholic and Christian schools in my area, because I always feel like those are the great foundation for kids. Just me personally, of how I was raised. And I'm looking at these tuition, and one Catholic school was like $20,000 tuition. And I was just like, and that was like, I think it was like K to like third or K to fifth grade, something like that. And I guess when you get up to a higher grades, it decreases like merely a little. And there was some Catholic school that was $13,000, and I'm just like, and that's not included. And again, these prices are not even including if they need like laptops, books, and registration and stuff like that. And I think about all the aspects, saying to myself, like, I really would like for my child to go to these Catholic and Christian schools. Some of them do have financial aid and grants, yes, 100%, but how much are they gonna pay, and what are the requirements? Unfortunately, maybe looking at a charter school, which is a little bit more better, would probably fit and more financially wise, and they'll probably still get the better education. Like, I think about stuff like that, and I think that's something that also you battle with in motherhood, because you want your child to have the best education ever. Especially if you have a gifted child, you want them to use that to their best abilities, but you also have to understand, like, it's not always to school, because you could send your child to the greatest school and then it's just like they may not get the great education that you thought they would. You know what I mean? So I think it's like all up for grabs, like a give or take, or kind of the aspects there. But I think overall, again, I would say motherhood is beautiful. I seen people, but I want to hear more positive things about motherhood, and that's something that I really want to, like, I want to see that more on TikTok. I think there was one creator that I saw, I was just scrolling on TikTok, and she talked about how she's also tired of, she's a mother, she says she loves being a mother, and she says she's also tired of hearing the negativity when it comes to motherhood, because I feel like it is promoted so much that people don't see the positive in it. And I think also why, another aspect apart from finances, why the birth rate is declining, because if not everybody's seeing somebody having a positive partner that's there with them to support of the baby, why would they want to just have kids then? Because if that is not being promoted more, why would they want to have kids? You know what I mean? It's like when you see some kids that come from two-parent households and the mother and father was there, and it was a healthy marriage and they were healthy parents. You see how they tend to lean towards wanting to get married and have children in that aspect. That's kind of how I see it. But I'm just going to leave you all with a closing statement. Are we truly prepping women for motherhood, or are we just expecting them to figure it out? What do you think? That's the Niecey Perspective, and bye. That's it for today's episode of the Niecey Perspective. And respectfully, that's my perspective. I'll see you on the next one.